So it's a pleasure to have you on, my friend. Tell the world who you are and what you do.
Well, on YouTube, I always say T-Fit here with Fit Bully TV. But my government name is actually Trevor. Last name is Cochran. And I put together this idea about 4 years ago when I was looking at the American Bully, and I said, damn, they still don't give a shit about this dog. There's a big opportunity here. And basically, I came back in full force, wanting to educate and teach, and it's kind of where our lane. We want to be the best at caring. And that's a different space most people aren't used to. And it's like this, who can care the most? That's the question. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell, man. It's not rocket science.
Right. Yeah, I've said repeatedly, man, I think when it comes to a lot of these breeders and a lot of these dog people in general, they're missing a lot of the core elements of what it means to care for a dog and enjoy having a dog. I see on your channel, I love your yard setup, by the way.
Appreciate it, man.
You got the different sections, and you have all these setups to where the dogs are actually stimulated and entertained and having a good time. That's important. Your dogs, their trainability, their temperament, that doesn't need any introduction. People know who you are. One question I did have, though, for the American Bully in general, I kind of see it in the XL community and a bit of the classic / working pit bulldog community. Would you say there is still a healthy amount of bloodlines out there that can do, guard work, personal protection work, things like that?
I don't think that's the focus anymore. Back in the day when Tony and those guys were putting together the Gray Line, and I think even there was some Rock Ruby and some others that could get out there and get a little active. We know back in the old day, 10 years ago, you get a Razor's Edge dog, it was pretty healthy as well. Those dogs there was an emphasis on actual function, right? Because if the premise of the American Bully is a pit bull on steroids, you go, well, that means the dog should be able to do more in a sense. But I'm very hip to the fitness space. When you add more mass, you actually tend to slow down. Ronnie Coleman's a prime example. To answer your question, do I think that there are working lines out there? I don't see a lot, man. And if I'm being honest, I don't think people are really concentrated on dialing in traits that are characteristics and traits that you can scale outside of promoting size and head size, so how much the dog weighs, etc. Does that make sense?
Could I get some advice on how to
and so I can't speak to it. As I said this many times, I don't know a lot of breeders anymore. When I first got my first American Bully almost 10 plus years ago, literally over 10 years ago, I didn't understand what they were doing, but I bought him anyway. He was a gorgeous dog named Champ. God, that dog was gorgeous. And I said, oh, you guys are fucking crazy. And so I ran away from it. That's the truth. So this is my third time back. And now with more wisdom and just patience and to deal with this stupid shit, you go, okay, I can do this. So our goal is actually to create an AMT. I think it should have been called something different or should be a different dog with the style of dog that we're creating, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's an American Bully long term because I respect American Bully. I do. I respect it. It is a unique dog, especially if you're getting down to your standards, your classes, and your pockets. But the technical XL side is if you added a Mastiff, what's the difference between a Mastiff? What's the difference between a Bully and a band dog? Mm-hmm. If you added a Mastiff.
Right. Absolutely. I notice your dogs are very uniform when it comes to like their physical structure and everything. They're definitely not overdone. And I like that because there is standards like in the ABKC, for example, but those standards are not taken seriously by a lot of the bully community.
No, not at all.
And that's the big problem. Now, I noticed that when I first saw the Merl thing, I was totally against it. And then I started to hear certain ways around it where people can actually, produce healthy Merl. So I do stand corrected on that. You live and you learn. But I wanted to get your educated take on it.
So it's. I don't think the Merl is necessarily the issue, and that's kind of. So let me slow down and be very clear. When we went the Merl route, I did it so that we could leverage where people's interests lie and making sure they would listen in a sense. And I didn't think, oh, I'm about to produce all these Merls. It's like, I'm going to make a Merl popular, and I'm going to make him popular because I'm going to care for him and working and do et cetera, et cetera. So where we on the bully side lean into Merl's bad. Well, the Australian Shepherd, it's got Merl. You look at your bulldogs, the Apaha, these dogs come Merl. The Great Dane, it's got Merl. There are Merl, Chihuahuas even, I believe. So is it the Merl, or is it that the community doubles down on stupid and does things that just make things worse? Mm-hmm. So when people leaned into, for one, to be clear, is there a Merl American Bully? Technically, no. Is there a blue pit bull? Technically, no. But as people would tell you, it is what the customer wants at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And so where you got the integrists, where they're like, oh, man, that ain't no true dog. It's still a dog. Genetically speaking, it's still a dog, and somebody bought it for 15, 20, 30 bands.
Yeah.
So I was never, and still not, I don't look at ego even as, oh man, he's just such a gorgeous male. I go, he's a good dog. I like him. That's all that really matters. But I don't get caught up in the looks. Matter of fact, I get tired of looking at his ass. If he's not doing nothing, I start getting annoyed like a parent looking at you not doing your chores. So our operating function around the Merl is, I did my research. I literally read the book that a woman created from Australian Shepherds. And shout out to one of the guys. I forget his name now. God, I'm so sorry, man. But he sent me some because he corrected me on something that I had put out there when trying to educate myself on the Merl as well. But here's the facts. It is here now. It is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I would tell anybody, educate yourself on why you have to be careful with Merls, but that's the same thing with taking a white to a white dog. You dilute the pigmentation, and that can create deafness and blindness. But it is now a staple, and, long as they doing it, the ABKC and many other registries, they'll find a way to get the money. Because that's what really matters. So don't put Merl down, put blotched.
Yeah.
And you ask, what was the real problem? The problem is it's a dog that's 20 years old and everybody wants it to be a pure blood. But as long as it's a designer breed, people are going to keep designing the dog until it goes to hell. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, Merl was just another design that they added to the dog. That didn't add value, to be clear. It added value from a physical standpoint, but if you're going to add something, in my opinion, a better breed, can we add better hearts? Can we add better eyes? Can we add better noses? Can we add better function, structure, hips, reduce CCL disease? Those are the things you say, hey, what can I add in here to improve life expectancy and longevity? Mm-hmm. Color's cool, but, that's not the first stop, even though technically we buy what we're attracted to.
Right. According to my recent studies, and big shouts to a few different people who sent it my way, there was a few blue dogs back in the history of the American Pitbull Terrier in the box.
Yeah. No, I know. That's why I said technically.
Right.
Technically, they get into it because they'll call them, right? It's not supposed to be, but you go, it existed. Same thing with the French Bulldog. They go back, when you study that one, they'll tell you that there was a guy who was losing to a blue dog, and he had more money. So he was like the Rockefeller or whatnot, and he didn't want this Frenchie that was kicking everybody's ass that was blue. So they made it a thing where there can't be any blue Frenchies. But they have pictures and dates where you say, that kind of looks blue.
Right.
So it definitely has happened, but those purists, man, they're like, that ain't no pit bull, that ain't no this, that. You're like, okay, well, it is now.
And I have a great example of that I touched on a few times. Like when it came to, like right before, the ABKC started and they were still calling the bullier dogs, American Pitbull Terriers. The way I explain it to people, and they lose their shit when I say it, of course. I'm like, well, why is the dollar bill valuable? It's because a lot of people stand behind it. So as long as there's that UKC community that's still very much alive and thriving that calls their dogs American Pitbull Terriers, They're not game dogs, but
so
they are indeed
people in my
American
DMs
Pit
at
Bull
times say,
Terriers
"Hey,
because
man,
there's
can I get
enough
some
people
advice
behind it.
on, how to
If you
start
get enough
breeding?"
people
I said,
behind an
"Simple
idea,
question, it don't
that
work
idea
well."
becomes a reality. Just like the dollar bill is just a piece of paper, but enough people support it. It's a reality.
Oh, facts, man. That's a good way to break it down to someone who's super indifferent to change.
Yeah.
And I tell people, change is the only thing that's constant. So whether you want it to happen or not, it's just going to happen. You can't even avoid it at this point. And I was a Pitbull purist back in the day as well. Even when people message me, "Hey, man, my pit bull," they'll say straight up, "My pit bull isn't getting that big." I said, "Have you ever read the UKC standard on pit bulls?" And they go, "No." I said, "It's only supposed to be 65 pounds fully grown. That's
Right.
it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else, my friend. So if it's not getting super big and strong, it's not a bad thing because it wasn't designed for that."
Right. Exactly. Don't get me wrong, man. I love all the bully breeds. I love the game dog. I love the game dog with all my heart. I love the UKC show type pit bull. I think it's absolutely beautiful. The American bully, there's a few camps I like. I like your American bullies. I like certain XL camps. I like what they're doing. That's kind of where it stops. I'm not really into the extremely small ones. Only because I kind of prefer a working dog. So I prefer a dog I could at least pull that out of. But one question I had: Have you ever experienced any difficulties with the Merl and your breeding program?
Not right now. We haven't, man. I don't. That to be clear. We definitely don't want to,
Right.
But Ego was only supposed to be bred one time, maybe two ever, and the challenge was we needed to pivot, and he was the best. He's the best dog that I have, and not because of his color, but because of who he is, right? Mm-hmm. And so the challenge is do we want to keep doubling down on running the risk? By no means. But have I had any defective issues? Everyone has been healthy and happy, and for the most part, people have been super ecstatic, and a lot of them kind of follow our lead on pushing the dog, so they're excited that they too get out and see what they can get that dog to do. But I haven't had any of what some perceive health concerns are. And I would encourage, again, people, go and study all the breeds who had Merl. Some people in the East Coast say Merl, but Merl in their programs or with other breeds, and say, hey, what were some of the issues they had? How do I prevent them? Because it's not just a genetic thing that pops up and makes some mutated three-eyeballed dog. Mm-hmm. This has been going on in other breeds for 40, 50, 100 years. Mm-hmm. And they're going to keep finding ways to freak it, but we haven't personally dealt with anything that was like, oh, that Merl gene's a bad thing.
I understand. So when it comes to the American bully in general, okay, when you're looking at your yard, for the people listening, what do you expect to see out of an American bully? What does the package look like inside and out?
Man, could I get some advice?
Well, if we talk about American bully, because I don't think we have them. I don't think we have them now on paper. So them ain't bullies. So they see the stuff. I don't give a shit. I got all their paperwork, and most niggas calling me, they ain't got their dog's paperwork. Hey man, how I get paperwork on this stolen dog or this free dog? I'm like, bro, that's nothing I could do for you, buddy. But if I'm looking at an American bully,
even worse,
based on even what the standard says, it is a companion breed. I don't think that they have a solidified weight, even depending on class. They like to see heavier bone. They want technically a two finger snoot, a pronounced head, which is going to come from your oldie English type dogs. And if I'm comparing our dogs to those, I like a 3-finger snoot. I like a 19 to 20 inch, dog tops, nothing lower than definitely 16 inch. 16 inches is too small for me. I mean, I need 17 and up realistically. And I don't like a 100-pound dog. And because we're active and I've already paid for 2 knee problems, you go, okay, I'm $8,000 in on legs. Where should the weight be? So I like, as you said, that you said, hey, I like to see a rib or two here and there. Mm-hmm. And I need to know that ours can run up those trees, jump, hop, land, maybe something not land the right way, but not tear a leg, because we didn't make them overweight. And I'm an active person. The people around me are. So we'll go to Arbor Hill here in Texas and put 2 or 3 miles on ourselves. I need a dog that can walk. We want to take him to Hot Springs, go to Seattle, travel to Oregon. Imagine your dog not being able to walk up the block without, struggling. So when you look at the infrastructure, when a dog has a small neck, it basically has to put out more energy. So a short neck or no neck in some cases, the dog's paw reaches to the tip of its nose. Well, Frenchies have the worst energy output. And in this case, you either run out of energy or time. I need a dog who I believe is going to be around for 10, 15 years. Because realistically, after 5 years is when you and your dog's relationship starts getting good. First 3 or 4 years is shit, man. Mm-hmm. They're fucking shit. And then boom, it's like magic. You and the dog. So if I'm comparing our dogs to the ones where I was at the ABKC Nationals, they don't fit in. I'm not going to tell you that they stand out, but foundationally, they're good dogs. Well, there's some good dogs there. I've been in the ABKC National shooting both 2021 when Blue won and then this year when Hangman won. And I'm not even a fan of shows, but I was asked to, come out and assist and get some dogs on camera. Good looking dogs, be very clear and fair in saying none of them impressed me. And I said this on a podcast even, 2 years ago. I love shooting Blue, great looking dog. They're not the dogs for me. I can't deal with a dog who can't breathe. You look at the AKC Nationals even. Nobody puts fans in the ring. So this is probably going to rub some people the wrong way, but it's just not the dog for me. Mm-hmm. If I really look at the American Bully, it's not the dog for me, especially if guys like yourself and myself come from that game bred space and you know what a dog's capable of. I don't want to chew nobody up, definitely no kids. I don't want to get in the ring and fight them. It's not even realistic. I like peace, so if anything, I need a dog that can at least have fun with. And to me, that's not the American Bully unless you're a sedentary person.
People in my DMs at times say, "Hey man, could I get some advice on how to start breeding?" I say, "Yes." So the question.
Are you basically entertaining the idea of going your own direction and renaming your dogs?
But I say, look,
yeah. I mean, like I said, we're gonna call them American Terriers. AMTs.
Look, I don't know.
Because kind of the start, I think the people on the bully side have done a good job of creating all kinds of havoc, and they're going to continue to do so with the hairless bullies and the fluffy bullies coming soon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a whole fucking thing. But I want to stay true to myself and what I believe in, and that's also, I think, why we were able to grow, because people have fancied me just sticking to the plan, man. Hey, what's the plan? Mm-hmm. Let's do right by the dog. Let's focus on what our lifestyles are like, and let's not ever get caught up in the hype of trying to please said community. And now there are people who are looking for someone who'd be integral, and even removing dogs from the program that we had plans for that just didn't work out. So, yeah, we're going to rename our, an idea that we have. It'll be a small community of people in the future that have access, to the AMT. And that'll take 5-6 generations, which is like 10 years of work to get to the dog we need to create this big idea. And they'll all be registered, ABKC dogs, and eventually we'll have the space to kind of like really change some things. But, yeah, that's my goal, man.
There's breed purists that I do stand behind and that I do support in what they're doing, largely in the American Bulldog community. But there's a handful of people that are kind of doing their thing, and I've been telling them, like, you need to just go your own direction, because the purebred game in a lot of areas is becoming very, very murky.
Very true.
And like my thing, I love band dogs, so I just I did my Lawton Bulldog thing, and that's just I've only done one breeding, and I probably won't do the next breeding till 5 years from now or something, or 3 years from now. I don't know. It's just kind of something I'm playing with. I'm not really focused on breeding. I'm focused on basically a good doomsday dog, if you will.
I like it, man. I mean, but that goes back to even when building a business, and the people that come to me, they say, man, how did you grow this following, or do this, or how do I build my account, or all this stuff? It goes, man, what's your message? And if you know how to stay true to yourself, then you normally will last a little bit longer and have more peace. If you're trying to keep up with people, then you're going to get stuck and then probably run into more fucking holes than anything. But I come from a space where my grandfather, they honored the dog. You know, they respected the dog, the German Shepherd. You go down to the Beagle, to any dog, they respected what their dog was designed to do, and they leaned into it, right? Mm-hmm. So, as I said, I've got to respect the American Bully. I'm not always impressed by him. I like him. I've had a pleasure being around him, but I don't think that's my dog. That's not the dog for me.
Right.
And even one of my friends who's been doing dogs for 40 years in his 50s, he'll tell you he breeds Frenchies every now and then. And he probably knows more than the average person. But that dog doesn't make his top 5. And it's a dog he breeds in house. So, well, we've got, I've got a pocket, Cha-Cha, she's like 16 inches. She's her dad's stupid dog. But the point is do I keep leaning into the problem, or do I solve it and then educate people along the way? I love that you're only breeding every so often. We do 2 or 3 breedings a year. Mm-hmm. And if I don't see what I need to see, I'm done. The females will only ever do 2 breedings, and then we've got to move on. And then when we get to that generation 5, we will have to do 4 breedings with the female we create that is our magic. But even then, you keep 1 girl out of that, 2 girls tops, and then move on. So every female has a 2 breeding split, or 2 breeding thing, and then we close her off, meaning like we get her fixed and we move on. Because we're not caught up on breeding for people. We're breeding for an idea so that we can be happy. Because we're dog men. We're going to always have dogs.
Right.
It's like no day on this earth where I'm not going to have probably 3 or 4 dogs, maybe 5 with me regularly.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I flat out couldn't live without having a dog with me. Now, when it comes to the American Terrier concept, is there going to be different sizes, or is there going to be a uniform size in the end? What's your vision?
Uniformity, 19 to 20 inches, man, 85 to 95 pounds top, and active, man. That's it. Okay. That's nothing more. There's a dog that you guys can look up for those listening called Big Draco, and he, is a dog from Blue Diamond Kennels back in the day out in Florida, and I always enjoyed him. You go back to my profile picture in 2010, that dog was a profile pic of mine, and the funny thing is, you can call me off Instagram, and a dude called me, he says, bro, you know who that dog is? Back in the day, you could hit the call button and come right to my phone. I said, no, man. He said, man, that's Blue Diamond's Big Draco, bro. I said, well, what happened? He said, man, they got caught up on that bully thing and trying to keep up and just threw away everything. I said, bro, that dog was it, man. That dog was fucking it. I don't know why they would change the formula. It was working.
Right.
And so, uniformity, to answer your question directly, I want a consistency, which makes it a good dog per se, in my opinion. And I don't want to second guess behavior, none of that stuff. I want to breed drive without prey drive. So Ego, he has no interest in chasing a rabbit, but we can get him motivated to bite, and we'll get him up to civil and do some other stuff. But he'd be in the bed for 10 hours chilling. Mm-hmm. And not terrorize the house or anybody. I'm not worried about kids or the Frenchie puppies and anything we're doing. You go, these dogs can harass him and he can take it. So you go, I need to double down on that. Mm-hmm. So I don't have long-term issues, and the character for me is probably one of the most important things that we're going to try to focus on, because the question we answer when we're breeding for us is, can we make a good dog? And a good dog isn't always going to be what people like, but I tell you what people appreciate more than anything: truth, honesty, and knowing they could come back to someone and learn from them about the dogs that they're purchasing.
Right. So to be clear, you are focusing on a very tolerant dog, but at the same time, you do want them to understand civil work and things like that.
Yeah, I like the off switch. I do like it. As if anybody's out there ever had a game dog or a Malinois, those dogs are wired different, man.
Yeah,
they are.
Absolutely.
And I don't want those. I don't have the time for those wires anymore.
Right.
Or the patience. I like a good pack. We're going to invite some new breeds in, and not from a breeding standpoint, but part of our job is to change the dog world. So you go, what are some other dogs we can get to bring in just to reach more communities?
Right. And what are some of the breeds you have in mind?
So next dog I'm going to get this year will be a German Shorthair Pointer. or a long-haired pointer, one of the others. The GSP is definitely a dog I got to get. I love those dogs.
I've heard a lot about them. Tell me more.
Also, I mean, they're hunting dogs. We want to get into hunting. We got the General. We went out there and hunted with, not hunted, but we've seen those ratting events and stuff. But they're a dog that, golly, man, full of integrity. They've got a huge community around them. There are people that have one or two. They can work well in packs. Based on the readings, it's a dog that'll also, with his person, sit at your feet all day and night. It's a dog who'll have your back, man. And to me, I like that scruffy, wiry look. And then I've seen a few. They're just gorgeous dogs. And I do want to get out. And I heard you say doomsday thing. I think of it the same way. It's like, guys, does anybody here know how to hunt? Does anybody here know how to do such and such? And what better way to get out and learn about, the environment I wasn't raised in, meaning hunting, with a dog that's designed to do it. So I'll probably literally get that thing from Germany, and it'll come from a line that works and handles business per se, and then comes in the house and chills with you.
And going back to breed selection and, what dog is right for people, everybody has their preferences, but I stress this all the time. All it would take is an EMP to knock out the power long term, and the AC goes with that, and the heat goes with that, and it's like, can the dog you have with you survive that? And a lot of people are going to be SOL.
Hey, look, shit out of luck is an understatement. Let me be very clear. It was 105, 102, 100 degrees all summer long in Texas. This is going to make some people probably a little upset. We have Polly whatever on the floor in the garage. Those dogs stayed in the garage and everybody lived. Now, when they came out from work and they were hot, we put them in the office in the house, made sure they cooled off. But to be able to walk, play for 30, 40 minutes in 100-degree weather, come in, then go stay in a garage where it's 100 degrees. It wasn't 100 degrees in the garage, to be clear. It was probably like 75, 80. But at 80 degrees on a bully or 90, it'll kill them jokers in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and they there's been shows where they're like, yo, did you see at the jungle, whatever? And people messaging me. I mean, even Ron texted me one time. He says, did you see did you hear about the jungle, whatever? I said, I don't go to dog shows, man. You got to pay me a lot of money. But they're throwing the dogs in the trash that are dying inside. We're talking inside a facility.
You go. At times say, hey,
like
man, can I get some
come
advice
to knock out this power?
How to start breeding? I said,
the General, I love my little Jack Russell that I've got. That fucker can walk 2 or 3 miles and be good. And I'm like, God, it feels so good to have a dog that can weather the storm, per se. Because there's more things in life that we won't be able to control, and I think COVID was a prime example, than we can. And if you've invested $20,000, $15,000, $5,000 into a dog that can't walk up the street or live in warm or cold conditions, God bless you. Because I would never do that. I can't. Right. And any one of those, I bought a dog for $7,000. We used him one time, and I gave him to somebody. You ain't got to pay me. Here's his paperwork. You do what you think is best. I can't deal with him. He wouldn't weather the storm. That joker don't want to walk a block.
Right.
He's not for me, my friend. So we're definitely going to double down on. I think if we're looking from a business standpoint, the world we live in. The younger generation of people who are very hip to dogs and health and, this I need my mental health and it's my feel-good dog per se, they're going to continue to get further and further away and in some cases off the grid. But what dogs can go with them off the grid and live in those vans even? Mm-hmm. I don't think the American bully that's 16 inches, 95 pounds is going to make it.
Right. It's very true. I'd never been to a dog show, but I've had countless people in the bully community, most of which who have just kind of strayed away from the community, like yourself, in a way. They're telling me that, they're pulling dogs out of, it's 75, 80 degrees outside, and they're pulling dead dogs out of crates. And I'm like, wait, hold on, back up. They're pulling dead dogs out of crates in 80 degrees?
This is the kind of stuff they'll never share, though. This is kind of stuff they'll never share.
Yeah, because when I watch it on YouTube, not to cut you off, when I watch it on YouTube, it just looks like they're just lining up all these thick, stout dogs, and it kind of it looks cool, you know. But I had no idea until I was told by a few people, you know, like, no, they were pulling dead dogs out of crates at a lot of these events.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, I've seen some people that the UK and some people post on, we lost them to the heat. I don't know too many dogs growing up that died because of heat. I just don't. Not growing up when I was a kid like that. Yeah, you hear some stuff, but it's like they're almost purposely breeding dogs now that are problematic. And we're talking about health, and I say it in a lot of videos. The only thing more expensive than these dogs is taking care of them. And I'm the one who gets a good amount of messages on, hey, my dog got this. Hey, my dog's swooping blood. Hey, my dog can't breathe. What about this? And I go, did you ask your breeder, man? Did they not tell you what you were dealing with? What I can tell you is we've got dogs from California to New York, and nobody's called me about the dog struggling to function or its quality of health. There have been issues at times where, again, I was like, yo, that's just a husbandry thing, and you need to make sure you do this, and that. But that whole health thing, I don't want to sell a bad dog.
So
and a bad dog is a dog who cannot walk up the street. Especially if you're selling to families, you know. Like a family got kids, they're going to be active. Imagine that dog go out, get the ball 3 times, and fall over and kill over dead. That's scary for a kid. That's scary for a kid. I don't want that experience to happen for any of them.
Right. And growing up, I mean, I agreed. Like, I saw dogs middle of summer, you know, from upstate New York.
Do it for the money.
I saw dogs in the middle of summer on a chain, chilling. You know, they'd find a shady spot, lay in the dirt. They'll sit there. They're looking at you. They're panting a little bit. You know, it's hot out, but it wasn't a big deal. And they'd be, you know, up, bouncing around, barking at everything that moves at night.
Yeah, yeah. And there've been some times here, man. I gotta be honest and say, there's been some times here where, you know, let's say we grabbed Tron one time, and he was already off leash, and you know, he's like he got turned around and twisted and just fell over, and I'm like, yo, what's wrong with this dude, man? Like, there's some concerns that we just so much we don't know. And that's why I celebrate the 2-year birthday versus the 1-year birthday, even when we talk about our dogs, because I'm with you. We had a German Shepherd that just stayed outdoors. And I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. Humid, hot, freezing cold at times, but he stayed outside and he survived a little bit. So I'm not used to the common thing now being the dog not making it 5 years old. I'm not used to that. Mm-hmm. One of my oldest pit bulls literally just died. She's 14. She died last year. 14 years old. Mm. That's what I'm hoping for. And then now, because of new science, new research, new information, guess what happens? Now you can turn around and extend the life by 3 or 4 more years with proper food and nutrition. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to lean into and keep leaning into.
Right. How do you compare the male versus the female? Is there much of a difference in your yard?
The females are everything, down to the science. They trace back the, we'll just say, to the mitochondrial DNA. You can literally trace certain genetics in terms of what gets passed on. So let me answer the question. A female always should run a good yard, because foundationally, in the wild, even when you watch wolves, they do the hunting. And that doesn't mean the males don't go and assist, but she'll lead the pack. She'll protect the animal that just got killed. She'll make sure the puppies eat. We already know female lioness, they do all the hunting and bring the food. So if you have a good female, like a good female, she should run the yard. And she should have poise and composure. And for us, Zara, is that Ego has... he's arrogant and he's confident, but he also has a peace about him. So when the dogs are biting the rope and they're biting his face, he's got so much confidence he doesn't react. The balancing act is taking a chill dog to a confident dog. Chill dog, confident dog, never a defensive dog, which we've done, to a confident dog, because now you have a reactive dog. Mm-hmm. So our females are where we put a huge emphasis on character development and make sure that they're good. And we want them to be better than our boys every time. Every time we want them to be better than our boys, and that's our goal.
Now, here's kind of an experimental question.
So people in my DMs
for
at times say,
the
"Hey,
American
man, can I get some
Terrier
advice
project,
on, how to start breeding?"
Yeah.
if you had to outcross to something outside of the gene pool, what would it be?
Well, I think that's going to be the future part where you bring in something. Once we dial in a certain look, I think honest, good, clean, old school bred American Staffordshire Terrier or Staffordshire Terrier Bull would be good. We were thinking about getting some of the muscle from the Whippet, especially the ones that have that double muscle myostatin gene. But they have roots in terms of wolves. So if ever you look at Whippets that have been confined with anything, that look takes over. Mm-hmm. And the irony is, when it's a terrier, too often another dog, that look takes over. So we want to try to keep it as close as possible. And the only thing that I might add in is, my guy Chris Moore is one of his American Bulldogs that has some decent size. And that's just to kill maybe even a little bit more of the drive while keeping it driven. Mm-hmm. And get some of those structural things I like so that we get kind of consistent in terms of the look. Mm-hmm. But other than that, maybe an American Bulldog. Definitely, it's like this. The American Bullies all over the place. I feel like I got enough to play with there because they keep adding anything. So you find the right components. You say, ooh, I like that. I like this and I like this. Now, how do we double down on it or, work with it to bring it to this exact space? We've got 2 females already that are 19 inches. Nala's 19 inches. We've got a small one who's got crazy structure, which I love, and she's super athletic. Add the drive, continue to keep her love, and keep honing in on those character traits. We'll probably get there, but if I had to outcross, and really think about the dogs I would use even to make this thing come to life, definitely probably an oldie bulldog at some point, properly bred, or some type of American Bulldog with some type of American Staffordshire Terrier. And then maybe add one more athletic component in there. And that'd be still, I think, another type of, I don't want to say bulldog, but either something in that bull space. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it exactly looks like, but, when you look at the American Bully, it's so many. They've already added the Mastiff. Shit, in some cases they've added the Pug. They've definitely added the Frenchie. They've definitely added 3 or 4 types of bulldogs. Mm-hmm. It's got so many things that you can visibly see, unless you're still talking about the pockets and even some of the standards. You go, what's going on here? And if you look at the last 5 ABKC national champions, none of them look the same. None of them. Not one of them. So you go, what are we really judging here? Because when you line up German Shepherds, they all look the same. Same thing with Golden Retrievers and Rottweilers. It's the same dog. You go, which one's that got the most, swagger per se at this point?
Mm-hmm. Right. So what is your take on inbreeding, line breeding, and outcrossing? What are some of your methods?
So Chris Moore will tell you, and he said it best, double the good, double the bad. And so whenever you do something, if you're going to inbreed, we wouldn't recommend it. If you have to, or you feel like you've got to double down on the trait, remember you're going to double the good, double the bad. Line breeding, you don't want to go 6.25%, 12 point, and some change. You get to that 12 and up, you're going to potentially lose some of that atavistic behaviors. And then I'll get to the point is, I think you've got to line breed and then outcross and bring something funky. And so we'll breed 1, 2, 3, and then take something out to someone that I trust and know who has an aligned vision. They might not even have a focus of line breeding, but just making sure we don't get too tight. So that's why I bought four females. We got 4 females all over the place, and each one of them technically gets a line built off of them. But I don't build it from the dog we bought. I build it from their daughter, because that's the first female we technically registered as ours, right? Mm-hmm. And then we kind of go from there. So line breeding, it's in the cow and cattle space. If it was line bred, something right. If it was inbred, something went wrong. Mm. That's how I think that's the famous saying they live by. Inbred, something went wrong. Line bred, normally something went right. And they're on a whole different level of genetic kind of like focused down to which gene yields the most weight potential between that 6 and 9 month range. So they're studying genetics that double the cow and pig size so they can speed up slaughtering so they can keep us fed, since there's less space for cows to live now that, the country's being built out.
Mm-hmm.
So I like line breeding if that's the question, and I'm going to try my best. If you want to speed up creating your bloodline, and bloodline, people, for those listening, it's not just a look, it's who the dog is. Because once you get past, this German Shepherd, you go, this is a working line German Shepherd versus the show one. The working line can get out there and, move some cattle around. The show one, he got it in him, but that's not he wasn't bred instinctually to do so. Mm-hmm. So we just want to make sure that as we build our line out over the next 5, 6, 7 years, getting to the dog we need to really start the line, that we do it in the healthiest way possible. If you do too much inbreeding and line breeding, you can cut 2 to 3 years of the dog's life off.
Right. Now, what are some of the things you do to select from a litter? Like, when you got a litter of puppies in front of you, what are you looking for as far as your keeper?
Confidence. You've seen our stuff. We build a lot of contraptions. We got noises, we got sounds. We bring out the vacuum. We want to see who's reactive, who's a little bit more aggressive. We're studying behaviors because what people also know, the AKC wrote a study, 8 to 16 weeks is when the dog's character really begins to form. And from a breeding standpoint and an owner standpoint, you start doubling down on which characteristics you want to continue to basically build out. So I like a confident dog that's willing to try. I love the dogs that are curious and want to figure things out. And then I love the dogs at times who are a little bit more rowdy because you can dial it back and give them more direction. You definitely want to focus on the dog who's willing to come to you, and we go through an extensive process. And mind you, I chose where the last 11 pups went.
People in my DMs at times
I make
say,
a choice where each dog goes. So people don't bother. Don't want this. I said, don't work that way. And one family, they got a dog and we're overwhelmed. And, I said, listen, I ain't never said these are family dogs. I said the family who understands dogs, you're going to fit well, and you got to introduce it to things. But you've never owned an American Bully. And mine are definitely way different than a lot of people's.
Do it for the money.
These are the things you have to do. Now, fast forward, not only is it a great-looking dog, but they're living well. She's sitting on her lap. She's like, I got 2 trainers. She did the things that were required. So I made sure, I'm telling that story because I made sure to not develop that dog. So when we were building stuff, certain dogs you lure. We go through certain dogs, you're like, hey, climb up this. We did not want that dog to get motivated because then that curiosity could be overwhelming for a family. So if you reach out, you say, I'm looking for this, this, and that. I go, bet. There's a group of pups that we'll take and we'll do more extensive work with, which is also why we don't breed in excess, because we put a huge emphasis on puppy development. We just want to get it right more than we get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just look for the most confident dog, and then kind of work from there. The one that's willing to try. It's the same thing in life. It's like, who's willing to try? Because I could take them farther than the person who finds an excuse versus a solution.
How many do you have in total?
Ooh, there are 5 dogs that I have right now just with me. Jamarcus has 5, which is better best dog. And then Stan has, I think, 1 of my dogs. So I've got quite a few dogs that live with me. And then my buddy Merl, who's a partner with us too, he's got a girl that we're going to use. I was like, she's the best girl out of a litter we had before. But 5 of them stay with me. There's probably 12 in our program, and some of them didn't make it. It didn't make the cut.
Gotcha. So what's the diet looking like?
Oh, man, they all eat raw, man, and sometimes some cooked components, but I like the venison, which has got double the amino acids. I've said this on many things, guys. If ever you're trying to figure out how to do raw, there's a girl who's Paws of Prey, how to feed your pup raw. The American Bully is a different dog, and all dogs are created different. You never really seen a fat whippet or a fat greyhound, right? You get them dogs a bunch of food. They're ectomorphs, technically. Mm-hmm. So finding your dog's sweet spot, especially since there's so many variations of the dog, is another thing. But foundationally, the dog needs protein, fiber, and fat. You do those 3 things consistently, then your dog will live a happy, healthy life. Dog food wise, man, I couldn't tell nobody. He asked me that too. Hey, man, what's the best dog food? I said, my man, I have no clue. I've been down that rabbit hole. Used carnivore even, which is $140 a bag. Dog still had allergies, chewing on the paws. And I did it for 3 months. It wasn't one bag. It was like, yo, let me do a 90-day run. Or let me extend it another month. And she never got better. So we had to switch her food up. But they eat good, man. They fucking eat good.
Gotcha. Do you have them on any kind of supplements?
Yeah, we actually have our own. So we have our own, and that's at this table I'm sitting at right now, studying gut to butt. Dogs lack secums, depending on who you talk to, which is fermentation tanks. So we develop products like Puppy Blocks, which is an amino blend, to ensure long-term health.
So
joint support, because guess what? The way the knees structured, their joints, technically on the bottom legs especially, are always exposed. And I didn't get supplements back in the day. I didn't understand them. Got to be honest there. But once I started looking into, their digestive tract's only 10 feet. They have undeveloped this, undeveloped that. I can see why you would recommend or need them. And I tell people, get you a good joint support. Don't overdo it, especially in the first, I would almost say, 24 months of the dog's life. And just kind of manage whatever you're doing with them. But as those joints are formulating, you're not going to get everything you need from dog food a lot of times. But also don't overthink it, because who's measuring out a baby's calcium intake down to the science? Probably not a lot of mothers.
Right.
So I don't want it to put out there like it's super hard and rocket science, but we just make sure 9 out of 10 dog foods have 40 to 70% carbs in them. The dogs have no carbohydrate requirements. So you need something to add value when they are carnivores, point blank. Point blank.
Right. Do you feed pregnant and whelping females any differently?
Yeah, I'll add some stuff. For those that don't know, I've said this before, and Ruben has as well. Vitamin E is one of the main antioxidants in the body, and it helps fight more sickness, even more than vitamin C. People don't know this. So a lack of vitamin E when dealing with a pregnant female, you have absorption issues, could be the reason why she absorbed the pups. Just a lack of vitamins and minerals. And that's one of the ones that pops up. So we'll double down on various things, especially rooted in vitamin E, but it's also not one of those vitamins, ironically, by the FDA, that's required to be put on labels. So when you see something green that has vitamin E, now go to the back of the label, some spinach, and say, hey, how much vitamin E is in here? Won't say. But vitamin C is on everything, and vitamin A is on everything. But, and then sometimes vitamin D, but there's foods that have vitamin K, which a lack of vitamin K could be the reason why your dog eats poop. Or the lack of vitamin K could be why a puppy hemorrhages, I believe, or something. So you go, man, so much to unpack, and still nothing is in fact to, because we're still learning about the human race.
Right. Yeah. It's funny that sometimes veterinary medicine almost surpasses a human doctor, I guess, because
I can see that.
Because dogs and horses are eating better than we are. Even dogs who are eating kibble are technically eating healthier than we are normally.
We don't think of humans as production. So when you start thinking about what they have to do to ensure cows, pigs, and even horses that make them money, livelihood, they literally, like any business, average big business spends 10, 15, sometimes 30% of its bottom line, depending on the margins, just in marketing. And that could be anywhere from $5,000 to $3 million in marketing, a month. So when you look at a cow or a horse or a pig or the things that feed us, you go, how important is that to these people that make a living off of?
Can I get some
advice? The medicine, the science, especially for those cows and those cow people, the livestock is a whole different world of fucking information. So I love it, but they're like, we'll get to you humans at some point. You guys are gonna die anyway.
Right.
Why the American bully? Look, I don't know why.
It's funny.
Outside of 9 out of 10,
I remember people were giving Joe Rogan flack because he was talking about humans consuming ivermectin to get over COVID. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I didn't put much thought to it. And then a buddy of mine, his wife had COVID and took ivermectin and cleared it. And like, then he had what was it? Some kind of illness that you're supposed to have for your whole life, basically. I forgot. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember what it is. He took ivermectin and actually called his doctor and said, well, yeah, he cured himself. And they're just like, wait, you're going to have to come in for an appointment. Like, they couldn't understand how he cured himself. I can't remember what it was, though. Something to do with the lungs.
And what you're saying is, I've heard some of these crazy stories of ivermectin, Panicure, these things, Bendazole. Like, there's some people who are just testing stuff. Shit, there's a dude who had something wrong with his mouth. He sprayed this stuff in his mouth and it went away. That I was down there in the country with him, about an hour and a half away from Texas, man. He said, oh, man, I just used this here and just, that's that. And I'm like, what? It says you're not supposed to swallow it. Oh, you'll be fine. But I tell you this: when your back gets put into a wall, what do you have to lose, right?
Right. I mean, there's guys out there. There's guys out there in the preparedness community who stock up on fish penicillin because it's literally the same thing as human grade penicillin.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And you could just go get it from the pet store. It's no issue.
You know what I'm saying, man? That's the kind of stuff that now, the challenge is too, is some of the times, unfortunately, because I got this message before, and it inspired one of my guides he said, Trevor, let's do a live real quick. Know your measurements, people, so if you can get yourself something like penicillin and know what it treats, read the arithmetic of some of that stuff. As he said, go get it for fish. Fish are smaller animals. But, this person overdosed a Frenchie litter. But they didn't read the math based on the mLs because it was designed for cows. So he overdosed and killed them all, man.
Damn.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. But that's the challenge with some medicines. But when it comes to humans, I mean, shit, risk it all. No, I'm playing. Don't do that.
I mean, come on. Somebody had to try each plant and die before we figured out which one was poisonous or whatnot. Hats off to them.
Everything you're saying is exactly what we're trying to do in investigating health long term. We've got some real life business models that I believe are going to help dogs for forever. But they're not rooted in, shout out to all the American Bully people and people who enjoy Fit Bully TV. We're going to continue to go a different direction and invite more people to the space because I love that you lean even into healthcare here because that's where I was born in, kind of like in terms of business and life. I've lived there for a very long time and I'm probably going to die there. And that's where I want to spend more of my energy. So the Bullies where I come back to get that 1% of the 1% of the 400 breeds. Because that's always my heart and soul. And then you go, oh, I don't want to live here. I gotta do something different. So you go get another dog and another dog. And by the time we're done, these dogs will coexist with the dogs we're trying to create. But healthcare is my primary concern moving forward. How do we impact the world with health in terms of dogs and other animals, and then ourselves, right. And then ourselves. And I think we got a lot to learn, man. A lot to learn, a lot to achieve.
Absolutely. What registry are you using right now?
ABKC. We got all ABKC. I got a dog that got some UKC female. She's double registered, but we got the ABKC, man. You go where they appreciate it. But I think even in horses and various places, as I've continued to reach out now and learn more about communities, the most thoroughbred, best pedigree, whoever might not be able to produce, might be shit. So I tell people this: don't get caught up on that paperwork, especially if you don't know how to read it anyway. Mm-hmm. But ABKC, man, that's where we're at right now.
I got you. And what advice would you give people who want to get into what you're doing?
And I don't think it's possible, if I'm being honest, man. My advice, if you're asking, here's a couple of things. I'll go down a little line. If you want to know how to breed, I literally did a video last night because a guy sent me 7 questions in my DM on Instagram. You want to know how to breed, or does the breed matter, is the first question. It matters if it matters to you. But if it doesn't matter to you, then it'll never work. So what matters to me is I kind of led with who can care the most. And then in providing that care, who can we share that care with that actually does care or shift And so when you say, what is it that we're doing? I'll give you, I can put dreams out there because you have to outwork me, and that's not probable. So, for instance, Zesty Paw sold for $600 million to a Japanese company. They're a supplement company. I'm with the guy who's doing $40,000 a month when I walked away from his company in dog supplements. Space is $1 billion. The human supplement space is $100 billion. If I look at the trend of dogs, I'm projecting in a few years, based on even what Forbes is in my writing, this space grows to another $50 to $200 billion. I don't want to take from it. I want to grow it. So we put an iron there. Where's diagnostics? I'm not telling you this. I'm telling everybody this. You have to think in a way that you can change the world. And I've been there and was head of wellness for a $500 million company, guy owned 90 hospitals. And I'm from the ghetto, not the best part of town, not the most dangerous part of town, but the part where there was no hope. Mm-hmm. Dad did 7 years in level 5 prison. Mom made $4 at one job and $5 at the next. And none of these people are people you want to grow up to be like. We're talking about my parents. Mm. So I got invited into rooms due to my interest and curiosity in life.
People in my DMs at times say, hey, man, can I get some advice? Trevor, you ever
did this or did that? And these people kept showing me things I'd never seen. I never imagined seeing. So when you say, hey, how do I do what what we're trying to achieve, you got to be able to write 12 business plans. You got to have a map on the wall in case something happens to you. You got to have the right people around to achieve these goals. You got to have an undying and a definitive faith. And then you've got to know what you know and know what you don't. And that's the part too. And be able to delegate. I can't do everything. What I can do very well is Steve Jobs this thing. And when I looked at the industry, I said the industry lacks, which is why I appreciate this interview, it lacks your Oprah, which is your person that everyone trusts. Oprah can get a motherfucker telling themselves on national television. But she also used to be the person that you say 3 words that change your whole life. And then you say, who's the Nike of dogs? Oh, that doesn't exist. And then Apple is the company people are obsessed with. So who's your Apple? I said, guys, if I could become all 3 things in one over the next 5-6 years while we're building real businesses, this could get interesting. And what the community has done, in 1 year we had 83 followers, 600,000. 1 year we had 103 followers on Instagram, 187. And I'm using these numbers as reference because I actually hate it, if I'm being honest. We had 10,000 and just random shit I was posting on TikTok to 1.2 million. I had a plan for every 10,000 followers, and in 1 week we grew 100,000, and it got overwhelming because that wasn't my plan. and even though the other platform, it was never part of the plan. But when it does work and people are in need of information, someone to believe in, then it's kind of out of your control. So then you have to go back and revise and uplift, like change, kind of like pivot a little bit. So when you say, hey, what are you guys doing? Man, I can't even from creating a telehealth company for pets, creating an insurance company, working with veterinarians, vet ventures, the stuff that I'm working on that they cannot see on social media, which is me being up at the vet at 8:30 this morning, spending 2 hours with him, going back tomorrow, I've been on the phone all day today. So they're like, damn, you still on the phone? Mm-hmm. This is the stuff that they'll never see. But when it happens, the most important part of this whole story is that I became influential for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And I inspire people to do better. And we have the businesses to support that growth. And that's building a vertical market, which is what I learned from Dan and many other big business friends that I have. And this is just like, like if you caught the internet, you was around that Mark Zuckerberg and Amazon and you could survive weather storm, I'd say, guys, this dog thing, I think it's going to be real important in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. Because 10 years ago, they laughed at vegans. Now vegans are laughing because it's a thing. Mm-hmm. And so the dog space, you go, who's the biggest buyers? Millennials and the elderly, aka baby boomers. Who's spending the most money and influencing, industries? Millennials, and that's probably it. And they influence everybody else to buy and react to something. And then the baby boomers, they have the funds to support it. Mm-hmm. So you go, what are we doing? Oh, man, God knows. That's the truth, man. We're trying to figure it out. It's like the Facebook. We don't know what's happening. I don't know what needs to happen. I've got some good ideas, and we are executing.
How to start breeding? I say,
that's the truth.
That's the question. It don't work that way. So
that's
THE.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I know. That's why I'm like I guess when somebody says like, "What do we call you?" I said, "Well, what do you think I am? Well, you a breeder, nutrition?" I said, "I'm not those things, man. I'm just a guy who knows how to speak well and read and retain information. I'm just a teacher. I pick up a book, I open it, I read it, and then I put theories to the test. I'll show you my dogs when it's good, when it's bad, when it's ugly, when it don't work, and then we move on. So I'm gaining your trust, and that in itself, from an authentic standpoint, will hold its weight in gold long term. And I don't know how to lie. I'm not a liar, so I can't stand liars. So I'm never going to lie or hide things because there's nothing to hide. This either works or we fail. It's that simple.